Developer Meetup. Quote of the week is from Steve Wozniak. The first Apple was just a culmination of my whole life. I just thought that was such a broad quote, but such a powerful quote. Upcoming meetups, we're going to have offline by default on May 30th. And then I have an announcement that I'll be off island all of April. So there'll be no meetups in April, but we will be resuming in May. I have a bunch of things to share, but I'm going to do housekeeping first. So if this is your first meetup, thank you for making it. Please keep all communications directly on the meetup page just so everyone can see it. We're very, very lucky to be hosted by High Capacity. If you're interested in becoming a member of this hackerspace, you can just use that URL right there. Final bit of housekeeping is that the bathroom is outside, so all the way out to the grass, make a right, and then the bathroom's over here. And then the key is on that black lanyard right there. Okay, and then I want to share some free tools, share it every time, but I really like Spectacle app for Windows management. It's very easy to move windows around, full size, it's free. And also Screen Hero, we're using that right now to share my screen with the stream, and also Joanne's going to be coming in so that she can actually manipulate the keyboard and the mouse on my computer when we do a bit of pair programming during this session. If you're interested in getting a Screen Hero invite, it's a closed beta right now because they got bought by Slack. But if you give me your email, I can give you that, and you're free to share it with as many people as you want. Okay, so tonight's agenda, we're going to do introductions, and then the topic of conversation tonight is going to be Magic the Gathering, an implementation of Magic the Gathering inside of a Swift 3 playground. Before I do that, I have a few things I want to share, kind of just changing things up, and this is kind of just a heads up to Meetup members. So I'll go back to the top. So Joanne was interested in maybe learning a bit about Git and how to how's it going, James? Change, moving the head and everything like that. So I just kind of found a online playground for Git that you can learn how to use everything and do things. And then another thing I wanted to share is the Swift Coders podcast. I'll be posting this all on the Meetup page later on. But this article in particular was fantastic because it's interviewing the creator of Swift Plate. And if you go about 12 minutes into the podcast, he starts talking about his history of how he started becoming a developer. He did web first, he got into iOS programming, and it's just a fantastic listen. This guy's really strong. And I'd say that one of the biggest takeaways in what he says is that work on tiny projects. Don't work on huge things. Work on modules just to learn the basics.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then following up on you're good. It's all good. And then another thing I wanted to mention is they have a really good video about Swift on the server, the whys and hows of Swift on the server. I personally didn't get it, but after watching this video, it's not super technical, but it gives you kind of some insight into where it's going, why its strengths lie on the server. So, and he actually goes through some code to actually build a server.
Yep.
So that was fantastic. And then I have two last pieces before we get into the Magic the Gathering part. If you're interested in maybe some native Hawaiian type of coding or working on some projects, there's a Purple Prize coming up this Saturday. It starts pretty early at 7:30 in the morning. But if you go to purpleprize.com, I think that you can still sign up. It's completely free. I'm just going to read this off real quick on line 37. In 2017, the second Purple Prize will focus on the theme why, which translates to value, and is a reduplication of the word for freshwater as a theme for the competition. Why would address problems relevant to freshwater conservation, protection, and management. I think it's going to be a great time. It starts at 7:30. We actually get to go to the lo'i and he'i, some of the plants into the ground. If you do come and you do attend, make sure you bring a change of clothes because we're going to be dirty, and then there's some other stuff where we actually get into the code. So just a heads up. I'll be there. It'd be wonderful to see some familiar faces. So up to you. And finally, I got some feedback from some developers at the meetup that maybe jumping around from different projects isn't conducive to how they want to learn. So what we're gonna do is, I just got Jay, could you pass me that book?
Which one? Okay, here.
So I just got the Big Nerd Ranch book. So I'm going through it right now. I'm about 68 pages in. And what I'm planning to do is have a topic of the night for every meetup. We'll do about 30 minutes. That's what we're going to do tonight. And then we're going to flip it over and we're going to go chapter by chapter in the book. So we can just start everyone on the same page. That'll be starting up in May. So just a heads up. And I think that's it. So pro tip of the week is kind of just, I like to use this when I'm going through my code. I find it a little difficult to find out exactly where I set these marks. My brain, I could be looking for the mark keyword there, but I'm finding this is really what I want to highlight tonight, is that using this, a programmer friend, Mark Nelson, showed me this one, and this breakup of capitalization with spaces in between really kind of just is a cognitive shift that allows me to see these markers much more easily than if I just had like a camel case or snake case kind of thing. So just for what it's worth. Finally, the key word of the week before we get into the meat of tonight's meetup is where. It's a fantastic, just fantastic. You save lines in your code and it's wonderful. So the way that you use where, for example, is inside of a for loop. If you're going through a sequence, instead of adding your I guess, conditional cases inside of the for loop, you can do a where right on the for line. So fantastic. Check it out.
And also, one more thing. With the where, you can also do where clauses in switch statements. I've been using it in a couple of cases.
Yeah, it's been helpful for you?
Oh, yeah. Especially if you have like 4 or 5, 10 cases. The Swift programming book shows you some examples of.
Oh, you're sharing with me now. John.
Oh, sorry. How do I?
You can just end that one, and then I'll share with you again.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go over here. Add you in on this one too. Oh, I lost my signal on that one. Okay. Just a quick technical thing. James, would you exit that? Yeah. Okay, and then John, I'm going to add you to this call, and you should get an alert to accept. Then you'll have a window for me to actually. Okay, so now you can move your thing, and it'll show up on here. So you're actually manipulating my computer now.
Oh, cool. Yeah. You are no longer in charge.
Okay, so that's everything. Before we get into it, anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay, so tonight's talk is Magic the Gathering. And I just wanted to know, did anyone have any, what's the best thing about Magic? I know, James, you like Magic. I took a read. Some people have played. Do you have anything in particular about Magic that keeps bringing you back to it?
I don't actively play anymore. I'm involved with a company a friend of mine is trying to start with doing rentals for professional players. So a lot of times, if you're trying to get up to date with a tournament, top tier tournament deck, it's probably going to be like $1,000 or $2,000. So people don't want to spend that kind of money.
Right.
Yeah, that's the premise of the business. But because of that, there's a whole speculation aspect to the whole industry. I did play like a long time ago, 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's been around for a long time.
Okay. All right, and then before we get into this, sorry for baiting you guys again. I'd like to do introductions, just so we kind of get a feel for who's in the room, what you guys' experience has been. And does anyone want to start? We've kind of just got a few questions up here. We can just kind of go off of this. If no one wants to start, I'll start.
I can start.
Please.
I was just talking.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, James, and I'm one of the co-founders of High Capacity. So thanks for coming to the event, and so Dave for doing all of this stuff. It's great that you're streaming everything, and this is a topic that I'm personally very interested in as well. I run a small software company downtown called Slickage Studios, to be exact. We used to be based in Manila Innovation Center, and we're one of the companies here that do native iOS, so take Swift and Objective C really seriously. Yeah, but we do a lot of different other things. Recently, we've been doing a lot of Elixir. That's it, I guess.
Questions?
Thanks for the room.
Oh, no.
That's a great spot. Anybody else want to go? Jay?
Okay, I'm Jay. I'm an app developer. Been working on this project called EcoCube. Actually, I'm in the process of finishing it up because things are moving in our fat. Like I said, I may be moving within 2 months. It might be able to stay longer depending on whatever the situation is. But ultimately, I gotta move to the mainland because of where the market is.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been working with Swift since 1.0 to 3.01 at least, and migrating was fun.
So Jay's the guy to go to with the deep Swift knowledge.
So, and then gaining each and every day, there's just so much to do. I forget to use some of the more cooler stuff yet.
Anybody else want to go next?
So good. So I'm Jason, and I'm actually from Berkeley, and I'm just in town for another week with my friend Ryan. I'm a web developer, but just kind of curious about Swift, Mac, and iOS development.
Cool.
I'll go next then.
All right.
So I'm a software developer at a company called Live Action. We don't do any iOS or any Swift development there, but I've been doing a good bit of Swift development on my own time, and I've been continually working on an application.
It's a great app.
for macOS.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Cool.
It's a great app. Yeah. Love the name too.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else want to go next?
I'm Neil. Here, I've been developing May for about 2 years, started with web development, and slowly but surely kind of like morphed my way into iOS. That's what was like my passion right now.
Nice.
So slowly but surely learning about it, learning about Swift, all the frameworks, and here to learn as much as I can.
Cool. Yeah. Definitely check it, especially with your background in like the web side of things. Maybe look at that Swift Coders podcast because that guy's history is from web to Swift. It's just it might be
Nice.
helpful. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm Ted. I'm from China. I'm working for Unify, a local company here, and I'm stuck on functional programming.
Okay.
I've been using Swift for 3 years. Want to learn anything actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Cool.
So I'm Tyler. I'm a web developer, and I'm here to learn more about Swift. Even though I still have a PC.
We're working on it, Tyler. We'll get it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Joanne. This is a hobby for me. I have a full-time job preventing me from doing more, but I'm happy to learn from anybody. So thank you.
Okay, Julie, I work for Sage, and recently I've been doing mostly Ruby on Rails, but before I used to do a lot of Objective-C and iOS.
Thanks for being here. I guess I'll go now. I'm David Neely. I'm from Hawaii. I'm currently working on a Boxcar 2D physics thing that I showed last week. Just really having fun with that physics aspect of things. I'm also stuck on functional programming, absolutely. I'd love to learn more about that. And my interest besides programming computers right now, so who here has Netflix? I'm loving this show called Samurai Gourmet. It's awesome. Just check it out on Netflix. It's not programming related at all, but it's fantastic.
Okay. I get it.
Okay, so thanks for being here. Thanks for all the introductions. Now we're going to go dive right into Magic the Gathering. So who knows what Magic the Gathering is? Okay, so mostly everyone does. Okay, so the plan for getting into this was, I'm just going to go right to the code, was to implement Magic the Gathering in a Swift playground. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right from the top. I've got some pretty good progress on it, but right now it doesn't play itself. It's definitely very far away from where it needs to be. But I'm just going to go through the code and feel free to ask any questions along the way. We're going to jam on this for about 20 more minutes, so just feel free to ask, and here we go. So it's a Swift playground. I've created a player as a struct. Player is going to have just a name, amount of mana, and health. And then I just have an initializer for the player. And then I'm also creating enumerations for kind of aspects that have very well-defined settings. So I chose to use an enumeration instead of another kind of data type. So for example, for card types, we know in Magic the Gathering cards, there are specifically only land, creature, artifact, equipment, enchantment, planeswalker, sorcery, and instant card types. I'm going to keep going. We also have well-defined card colors and card rarities. And then what I did was, the reason I chose the core set 2013 is that's the only full set I could find online. So I just went with that one. Next, we're going to go through the pieces of the card in this struct. So just the card number, the name of the card, the color, art, type, subtype, rarity, set, keyword, reminder text, flavor text, which is my favorite part of the Magic the Gathering cards, artist credit, mana cost, power, toughness, and is tapped. It's a Boolean. Then also in this struct, I'm creating an initializer. It sets all of those. And then here we go. There's lines and lines of this. There are 249 cards in the core set 2013. I've only implemented 24 of them, just because there's a lot of stuff to put in. So if you're interested in contributing to this.
So there's a site called MTG JSON.
Okay.
It has actually every card in the set.
Fantastic.
So you can, it's also open source project on GitHub, mtgjson/mtgjson.
Okay.
We actually use it, and I have code already written for that. So if you ever want to, but it's not in Swift. You know,
Okay.
If you ever if you want to have a look at their, I guess their structure, it has, you know, pretty much everything you need.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out. So I'm just going to go through all of these. I'm not all 24. I'm just going to kind of scroll down because they're all of this same type. They're all a card struct. So we've gone through all of the attributes of a card struct. We're just going to go through, skip all this stuff. So
Is there a way you could just load that from the file instead of having
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about that?
No, I mean, I guess I'm unfamiliar with Swift, so wasn't sure.
It sounds like, so James is mentioning that there's a JSON file that we could actually parse with Swift.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just feed it in and create cards. So that'd
Exactly.
probably be, yeah.
So the repository is actually it's quite big. I mean, they can come out with a new set maybe like every 3 months or something like that.
Wow.
And that's since the beginning of time. So there's a ton of cards.
Yeah, you just
I believe something
yeah,
like
you could write a parser
Right.
because
50,
as long as it has that.
I think that might crash the
You
playground.
might not want to do that manually. Like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is helpful. Thanks, guys. So I've got 24 cards, and after the cards have been created, I'm using that same, what I mentioned earlier about the labeling. This is really helpful. There are trade-offs because now I can't search for the term card methods because there are spaces in between them. But I'm happy with the trade-off just for the visual delineation in the code. Next, I just kind of created a function to print the card attributes. Pretty straightforward. It's pulling from the input struct that we pull in. And then I kind of just add all the cards that have been created to a deck. It's just an array of cards with an initializer right here. So we've got all 24 in there. And then I'm creating deck methods. So some things, this is just kind of like the bird's eye view of things, just piece by piece what makes sense. So it would make sense to want to get a random card from the deck. So just created a function to do that. And then also shuffling a deck. The way I implemented this one is I found an extension on Stack Overflow that we laugh, but we all do it.
Yeah.
That just kind of shuffles it. So I'm using that as well. And then this is one thing that I think this is going to be the most difficult part of the project is actually defining the turns, keeping track of the turns, and all of the minor details that can happen in between. So kind of, there's no clear, like, it's this player's turn, so only this player can do stuff. There's like, I guess there's like
interrupts.
and a ping-ponging back. So that part I'm not very clear on yet. I'd be very happy to get some input on that one, some help. Again, this is all on GitHub. It's all open source, so feel free to contribute. I think I also have something like 27 issues set up in GitHub, so if you want to just pull in one and help out with that, do a pull request, I'd be really happy with that. So for the game state, what I'm doing is I've just created 2 players. I realize that Magic the Gathering can be played by more than 2 players at once, but currently I just like to keep, like the Swift Coders podcast is working on tiny little pieces at a time to make sure everything makes sense. So I just created 2 players with a player struct. I've initialized them with a name. Can anyone figure out how I came up with these names? And then we have input mana and input health. You start at 20, you decrement from 20. Once you get to 0, you die, you lose. Or if your deck gets to 0 and you don't have anything to pull, you die. Implementing whose turn it was, I thought about maybe doing a kind of a variable of like an integer, but decided if there are only 2 players in the game, I'm specifically referring to 709 right now, it just makes sense to just do a Boolean. Like if it's player 1's turn, then do stuff. If it's not, it's obviously player 2's. So that's kind of how I worked that out. As far as areas of the board, it's just going to be arrays of cards. So we've got the graveyard. So I split it up into graveyard 1, graveyard 2, just to keep those separated. Pretty straightforward. And then here's the gameplay. So very straightforward. As I was coding this, kind of the end goal of the project started to shift. I initially had wanted to create an implementation of Magic that could be played, but I'm finding that I'm really enjoying seeing the output of this playground. I'm just going to play it real quick. But I'm noticing, I'll just let you guys can see this. I'm noticing that, when you play Magic the Gathering, the game really exists in your head. And once the game is done, that's all gone. So I thought it'd be really cool to be able to narrate a game and just figure out and kind of like almost create a book or a story from the game that has been played. I've been watching a ton of Magic the Gathering documentaries on YouTube. They have really good ones too. And I'm just noticing just the rivalries that have come up. The one guy who didn't make Worlds and he's been trying for so many other times. I think it'd just be so interesting for him to be able to communicate his love of the game with the story that's been created by the gameplay. So that's pretty much the end of the playground, what I have set up. I wanted to know if anyone wanted to add some stuff right now, or maybe just talk about additions to the game.
Maybe when you have to deal with being able to cast spells on each other's turn, maybe you can make each player like a thread. So they can still be able to do actions.
Not lock it up.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any comments?
I'm not sure if the rules change or anything like that, but instance affect the other player or it affects things in reverse order. So I'm not sure how you would. But that being said, even the most sophisticated game engines don't actually. I mean, for the game engines for card games right now, they don't actually have a rules engine that interprets the cards' actions. And that's because the cards are just that too complicated, I think. A lot of times they do a lot. Some of the cards are very unique and depends on what the text, how complicated it is.
Right.
So a lot of times these engines just tell the players, you guys figure it out. And
really?
Decrement your life or discard a card, whatever, and basically figure out what the cards do amongst yourselves.
Cockatrice.
If I attack you and I block or whatever, for that type of interaction, it might be easy because you have power and toughness, right? But for things like if your creature dies, then remove a land from your, remove a mountain from play or something like that, right? That kind of thing you would have to do yourself, I think, as a player. And I think trying to implement an entire rules engine is a little crazy
Yeah.
for this card game. Yeah.
Just like trying to model everything that can
Yeah,
happen.
no, it's insane. People have tried, I think, and failed.
Okay.
And even the official client, the official Magic the Gathering online client is still not perfect. A lot of people complain about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll digest that.
Maybe keep a simple card set.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah, yeah.
subset and kind of exclude.
I think what you want to do is create the platform first, and then maybe be able to take on this later on.
Well, I'm unclear. Like create the platform. Like
Create a platform is just like having the user be able to have that conversation. It's like, oh, you take X number of damage, right? Or you need to discard this. And you're able to discard the card or something like that.
Right. Anybody else have any feedback? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So that was Magic the Gathering. All right. So we are at 6:30 now. We've got 30 minutes left, and I've got an exercise. So who would be willing to pair? I know, Joanne, you're already on Screen Hero. Are we familiar with FizzBuzz? Programmers here? FizzBuzz? Okay. All right. I'm going to just read it from the top. And what I'd like to do, if you have your computer right now, we're just going to code up FizzBuzz in a Swift playground, and we're just going to compare results. It's a very straightforward program. There's no egos involved. No one's going to get hurt feelings, I don't think. It's pretty straightforward. But we're going to discuss it. Maybe let's take, like, I'll read what FizzBuzz is. I'll type it up so we can leave it on the screen. And then maybe just code it together. Yeah. So here we go. I'm going to close this playground or this out. This is on GitHub if you're interested in just poking around, downloading it, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so open up a new one.
How many people can you have connected on?
I've never maxed it out. My computer is really slow, so we'll just try it. If anyone's interested in getting a Screen Hero invite, if you want to just write down your email, I can just set you up with one right now. It's really easy.
Yeah, it's a pretty good tool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have experience using it. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan and I have used it from San Francisco to Hawaii. And
Oh,
it's
nice.
pretty
Yeah.
good
That's what me and my buddy are doing too. He lives in
Yeah,
San
yeah.
Francisco.
Works
Do
well.
you guys use a phone on the side, or are you guys all through the computer?
I'm doing it all through the computer.
Oh, nice.
And that works fine.
Right on.
Yeah, I think the only issue that I've had with it is like getting the initial connection can be tricky sometimes, but once it's made, it's solid
Nice.
compared
That's
to
good.
other programs.
So they're allowing new signed registrations again?
If
Or-
you get an invite.
Oh, only if you get it.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was under the impression they closed everything for a while.
Do you post your text? This screen.
Not the minute. I post
outline.
usually just the
Oh.
different things every time.
Okay.
Would it be helpful if I did?
There were some links in there that
Okay,
I
I'll
was
make a
too
note to
slow
post
to
it.
write down.
Oh man. Yeah, I can be doing this on the Swift playgrounds.
Okay, so FizzBuzz. I'm just gonna read it
What's a
out and
FizzBuzz?
then I'm gonna write it out. So
Oh, is it from the book?
yeah, this is a great book. If you don't have it yet, it's a fantastic start. I just picked up a copy this weekend.
Oh, cool.
It's like $30.
A lot cheaper than some of the books I
Actually
bought.
pretty cheap for
Yeah, it's pretty well written too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read it off real quick. FizzBuzz is a game used to teach division. Create a version of the game that works like this. For every value in a given range, print out fizz. If the current number is evenly divisible by 3, if the number is evenly divisible by 5, print out buzz.
Oh, I
If
see.
the number is evenly divisible by both 3 and 5, then print out FizzBuzz. If the number is not evenly divisible by 3 or 5, then simply print out the number. Okay. So feel free to get started. I'm going to write it up so you can see what it is, and I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. Feel free to ask your friends.
What was Fizz
Slow
again?
down 1 to
Fizz
100.
is divided by 3.
Was go 1 to 100.
Divided by 3.
Yeah.
Fizz is divided by 3.
Fizz is divided by 3.
Buzz is
Buzz
3
is
or 5.
5.
5
And
Yeah.
then Fizz Buzz is 3 or 5.
Yep.
and 5.
And
And
5.
five.
3 and 5, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if neither of those, then just the number. Print out just the number.
Something like a case statement. Case
Oh,
and where.
and then from numbers, what to what?
Let's do 1 to 100. We'll avoid the 0.
Funny, Dave. Actually, one of the work I was having to do,
Yeah.
like a similar situation.
I was really interested in reading in this book about the rounding with an int, a different sized int. Like if you use an 8-bit int and you're doing, I think it was subtraction, how it rounds over to go to negatives.
Oh no, that's the complement between the various int formats.
Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta watch out for that.
absolutely.
For that, you should use unsigned int
Mm-mm.
because you know the range between the unsigned int and that regular int
Yeah,
is bigger.
different.
Yeah. But usually when they say int, it's usually the signed integers. And most of the times you're using, if it's the default, you don't specify, it's the 64-bit. If it's 32-bit or 64-bit. So you gotta be a little careful there. But otherwise, the compiler does it for you. That's the beauty.
Yeah, keeps you honest.
Actually, you know that BizFuzz, without getting into details, let's just say I was kind of doing it for work where I had to kind of do a lot of those freaking complicated filters, this. Like you wanna. I didn't want that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just Googled Swift online playground. I swear I
Did you want to try?
Yeah.
And just pair on this one.
Swift.org.
So you
Okay.
can actually just jump right into this and you can start
Oh,
coding.
that's the actual like, Swift.
Mhm.
Swift site.
Oh, really? Oh, this is like
Yeah.
ice. This is
Oh,
ice Swift.
iSwift. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not.
It's like an online playground. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have that Swift installed at all, then share the screen.
Oh, yeah? Screen hero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you just
And there's the
it won't take long. You just
It's free. If you give me your email address, that
and another
add you
place
right
is
now.
the IBM Swift Playground. They have their own web version that
Absolutely, yeah. You
I
can share
played
with as
around
many
with it a
people as
little
you
bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go back and try that again later.
Uh,
So you just do.
I'm sorry, John. I'm just gonna make this large real quick.
You already started it, but you're on before.
Okay.
yeah, I think I had to or something.
Have to.
Yeah.
Let you better start this playground or else.
Does it matter? So why
Which means it's a meeting though. At UH.
Oh yeah, so
iTunes is trying to
said
keep right now.
like it's slow right now, but they're not. They said it's gonna go much faster. Yeah, they would like Google.
Why is it in iTunes?
But it said that everyone's quite good.
Oh, so what's happened?
So let me know if you want to be a part of the conversation. You know, we're gonna try and work with the highlights.
Oh, cool. I'm glad that for the last time, I'm glad that at least some conversations getting
Yeah, for sure.
And like I said, James,
Thanks a lot.
for me, there's a chance, depending how things go between the next month or two, I may have to move to San Francisco for at least a year for work. Me and Charles may have to hit that side to establish our business.
What about his family?
I like
Am
They
I
live
the
in
wrong
LA.
language?
They live in LA. It's
Just
a,
gotta do one more.
but we might delay that depending how things go the next few weeks. We just looking at some stuff at the legislatures. Things might come up. We might stay for a little longer, but then again, we're gonna have to eventually move. So we'll see what happens. And I gotta finish this in 2 weeks. Already. So this is fun.
Trey, I've been meaning to ask you, your colleague Charles.
Mm-hmm.
I know a guy, Charles, who does a lot of music, and he does like programs Logic. Is this the same Charles?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just curious. Yeah.
No.
He
Someone
used to
else.
work at Capcom.
No. He's been in the energy industry for about 10 years. I met him with one of the wetwares and just built this thing.
Nice.
Divisible. So many ways of doing this.
Yeah.
I like to put little functions and then maybe do multiple case statements.
No need to rush. Still have about 5 minutes.
What do you call it as a method?
Oh, it's like that.
And then it's already running. You're plus equal. So you're always gonna.
Yes, I think this is the one that I want to press.
I mean, you'll get the number and buzz if it's not divisible, I think.
You're on your way.
I'm doing Python and two other things, so I
That's
have
pretty
to
close to
become
Python.
commenting first. Okay, so there's probably a
Yeah.
more graceful way. You have to catch both first.
Yeah, so when we would do this in the future, I would be able to. So the microphones are working, so I would be able to
Oh,
hear
we can
you
hear
talking.
each other?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you might.
I tend to use my phone instead because my home internet connection is pretty bad. So not having to rely on the voice makes it a little clearer.
Oh, okay. So if I did this for real, if Swift is as easy as they say.
As easy or as complicated as you want. It's like any language.
I need the other case, right?
Yeah.
You need,
Oh,
you, like,
does
need
this
to
use
assign
brackets?
If
Yep.
its output is empty string, then you call it the number.
So I don't think you need that then.
If neither of them are
Okay.
matched, then
Yeah, you don't
then
need
do
that.
the number. Instead of
Oh.
That's my other one.
And there's one more thing, the and.
It's
So
a
then you say
ampersand?
you-
Yeah.
Double
your
ampersand.
case.
Yeah.
That's your case either way.
There's no way to get around it.
That's it.
Remember, if you just if we do the randomly the yeah, because it's random to
Yeah.
Oh, I put it in.
Jay, do you know
Is there a Semicolon?
If Swift can
No.
pattern
No.
match on phone.
No Swift's
I think so.
necessary.
I think, yeah, I was reading some stuff with pattern matching there.
Yeah.
That's what.
Hold on for a
It's funny
sec.
when Aaron
I
said.
did with these.
Hold on for a sec.
This is like how hard you do. I mean, I was trying to figure out how to do the functions, but
Yeah.
Nice, I like the wild cards.
yeah, pattern match. So it knows which case to jump to. If it's not 0, then it pattern matches to a wild card.
Should be in.
Underscore.
Have you had a chance to
Yeah, I was
use?
trying to go see if there's something clever I can do.
I just didn't match off the bar. So like.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think Swift is pretty weird actually.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It has a lot of functional capability, right? And if you look in their documentation, it actually has a
There was
lot
no
of
fire.
references to Haskell. It actually
Stop
says
there.
this is from Haskell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and their documentation.
Well, I was gonna do.
That's from their source.
That was
So,
my other condition.
but what's weird about it is that there is functional
Yeah, it was well.
constructs that you're able to pass into like a object-oriented implementation, and they have like weird keywords like if you pass a closure, you have to say that you have to tag it with like escaping if you want it to be able to access parts of your other class. Yeah,
Right.
It's really weird. I don't know.
It's fun.
Actually, the reason why they put escaping is because people were, because sometimes with the closures, it can, some cases will escape. If you're not careful about it, you can create strong reference cycles.
And side effects.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
they want you to explicitly do it.
Yeah.
I understand. Like,
Yeah,
the
'cause-
fact that the language kind of like ties in two worlds is kind of
Yeah.
weird.
but many of these languages tend to do that anyways. A lot of them.
Yeah, they do.
Even Clojure had some non-functional structs as well. But they're all based on sequences. I was reading about that. Pretty interesting. Flexible programming.
Your email address so I can send you an invite to screen here.
Oh, okay.
I'll just add you in right here.
HOY.
Where?
HOYBENOIT@gmail.com.
Yeah. Right.
HYBESIT.
NOIT.
I'm thinking I might just.
OIT.
Yes.
I'll add you as soon as I finish this.
If you're trying to use this kind of grammar, so we use a num with a range, so we can put some function in there to represent these conditions here. Kind of stuck here. I don't know how to do this.
The other thing I was thinking was
Yes,
James, you got some feedback on this one?
Oh, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we put a function here. This function can do the same
I
thing
feel like it's kind of.
to filter the data.
Right. I don't remember the syntax off the top of my head. I know what you're trying to do though. It's cool.
You guys want a few more minutes? Are you guys good to go?
Really good.
Okay. All right.
This is simplistic, but is there such a library?
Yeah, there's something like that.
Is it alt?
So for this one, so you're just getting a random number to put in. So kind of in Swift, you're going to be using an arc for a random uniform, and that just creates a random integer from what you pass in.
Specify a range. Like,
So you can just blast out all the math and all the parentheses, and it's just going to be arc and then the number 4. So ARC.
Yeah.
ARC, and then hit the escape button. So that's going to give you some code completion
Yep.
if it comes up, but it looks like it's trying to run.
Yep.
There we go. So you can just use arc for random uniform, and you can just double. So one more up. That's going to give you an integer, and then you put your upper bound in here. Okay.
Yep.
But it might want you to
Or like-
cast that.
Yeah.
So
here?
nope. So
Okay.
let's delete that stuff. So the cool thing about Xcode and Playgrounds is that in the left-hand column, we have different types, right? One has an exclamation, one has a dot in it. The dot means that it has a suggestion for you for a fix. The exclamation means something is wrong.
Go on.
So if we zoom in on that, or I can
I'll
zoom
talk to you later. Bye.
So it's going to give you suggestions of what to change it up to.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think you were on the right track with the integer in the front. Yeah. I was going to have you cast the 10 as a int 32.
Here.
Okay, does anyone have any ideas of how we can get the code that you've created onto this screen? Just so you can share. I also have this connector right here. If you want to bring your computer over and show your code, we can have a conversation about it. Anyone willing to?
Yep, sure.
Let's do it. I'm going to lose the screen hero thing, but I think this is more important for everyone here. So I'm just going to unplug real quick. All right. Just time-wise, if anyone has to get going at 7, it's 6:50 now. Just a heads up.
Is there an easy way to zoom in?
I use accessibility, but how about press Command, comma,
Command, comma.
and then so go to fonts and colors,
Sorry, general account. Oh yeah, there it is.
and then you're going to go in the left-hand column, go to presentation large, and then it'll change all your code.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So I guess instead of having a separate condition for the 3 and 5, just appending to an empty string, and then,
Nice.
and then
That works.
checking if the string's empty, then you need to output the
Nice.
number.
Nice.
It's very readable.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess there's the output there.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's correct. I didn't check it, but
What's the read on this? Is this correct?
Yep.
Great.
Great.
So how did you, I guess, conceptualize this implementation?
I think it was just from the noticing the 3 and 5. I kind of saw the order there,
Yeah.
which is why what made me think of the appending, kind of like appending to the string. And then originally I was trying to work out, I don't know, I was trying to think of some clever way of like, if there's some way to remove one of these conditions, but I don't know, Ryan and I kind of thought about it and we think this is probably as slim as we can get this type of
It's minimal.
It's
implementation.
very clean.
Yeah.
I really like how clean it is.
I like that.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, definitely.
Who wants to go next? How did you guys come up with something?
It's in JavaScript though.
I don't know if it's
It's
gonna
easy
help
trick.
us here.
No.
Please.
You said, can I come right?
Yeah, man, come.
And say, station large. Done. Maybe that work. Okay, yeah. Just something simple. For loop, and then just doing the face bus first. Just doing that condition, and then just went down by the highest condition to like the lowest, and then print everything else at the bottom.
Nice.
That's my output.
I like how you started with the, I guess, the most complex condition first, and then it cascades down to other options.
Yeah.
It's very clean too. Thanks, Anu.
Right.
Anybody else do an implementation of it? James, you want to show yours? Sure.
I did the case for
Interesting.
I'm a fan of dongles.
Are we all? Okay, there's a slight tinge of sarcasm there. Sorry.
Okay, so I've been writing a lot of Elixir, so I've trying to figure out a way to do pattern matching in Swift.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
It's almost like the same syntax.
Yeah.
So the result of the integer that goes into the fits buzz function is actually a result the result in a tuple,
Mm-hmm.
and the result is switched and pattern matched across 3 different cases,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll get you the integer, or the default value is a number.
Right.
And then I do a for loop through it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
It's taking me a while to process this.
No.
It's still-
Oh.
Actually, there are some. By the way, James, that kind of example was actually mentioned in the Swift programming guide. They had examples of that actually.
Yeah,
it's-
so what I really wanted to do was I didn't really want this. So what I wanted to do was throw these into function heads.
Yeah.
Usually, I mean, this is kind of a bit tough to read. So I think if you had different function heads, you would be able to see these cases better.
Exactly.
But otherwise, I think that's kind of it.
James, can I
Yeah.
ask you a question? You mentioned function head. I'm familiar with that term.
So the function head is pretty similar to if you were coming from like Objective C or some type of Java or like .NET.
Mhm.
Function head is basically an operator, not operator, function overload.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So a function overload means the function has the same name but different parameters. And if you were to write it in Elixir or Erlang, there's actually, if you write different function heads that take in different parameters, you can actually use guard clauses to, guard clause is basically to tell compiler not compiler, at runtime, which function to go towards based on the values you pass it. So you can say the guard clause for all numbers below 5, go to this function. For all numbers above 5, go to another function.
Okay, I
So
see.
you would favor this type of approach over like traditional, I mean, quote unquote traditional flow control, like if else or whatever. Where basically whatever is evaluated in an if clause would be the guard clause for the function.
And also, to make it, I saw the other examples, and this is an example what I've been doing with the switch with the where. So like case, I would have written something like case result where where n mod 3 is 0 and or do it as a tuple too. So there's kind of like variants of that. So you can actually put in a switch, you can use that variable and you can do a where clause, what range you want to go to, which I've done in my app in a couple of places, instead of writing that crazy flow control.
Anyway, that's what
I
I
like-
got.
That's the question. James,
Yeah.
did you have something to say?
Yeah. So I guess just because I'm pretty unfamiliar with Swift. So what's happening on the line with let result, like with the parentheses? Essentially, it's creating a tuple.
Yes.
So let result equals, and then if you put in a number, say like the number 3 or something like that would result, and 3 mod 3 would be 0, 3 mod 5 would be something else, right?
So it evaluates those and then puts them into what kind of data type is that? 'Cause it's not like an array. Is it, or?
No, it's just a tuple, so like 2 items
Right.
in the structure. Yeah.
Can you add as many like items to it, kind of like an array? Like
Yes, you can. It's kind of weird. Then I mean, there's use cases for all these things, right? And I mean, you can always use a programming language wrong. so you can.
That's true.
I mean, in this case, it works because it's 2 items and it's easy.
I think
but
you could go up to 7.
You can totally use an array, and you can have the case pattern match on an array.
Yeah. Or 6.
But it was just easy.
Okay.
It was kind of similar to like a multiple return, multiple value return kind of thing. Right?
And Swift
Okay, gotcha.
supports multiple returns. Like you can have tuples, I think, up to 7. I think that's kind of
It's weird.
pushing it.
I just wanted to kind of point out, so we're noticing a wildcard character in here.
Mm-hmm.
The underscore. Does anyone have kind of questions about that? Why are we using that?
Don't care.
Yeah, that's kind of the answer. That we use it because we don't care. We're kind of saying
Yeah.
we disregard it.
Yeah, because
Does
that
that make
means
sense? Does it make sense?
any number that's not 0.
Yeah, and I feel like I've seen that in Python.
Yeah.
Oh,
In fact,
yeah,
to pull.
Okay,
Look.
which I just also.
It's in a lot of languages now, but
Yeah, it's a lot of languages. Python.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen it in any language, so I kind of had to wrap my brain around it.
No, I seen it in Python. I seen it in Python.
So the example I've seen is when they do, which is weird. I haven't seen any other language for Swift. You can do like an external name for a variable and an internal name for a variable.
Yeah.
One after the other one.
Yeah.
And then if you don't,
This language
if you
is
want to,
super weird. Man.
yeah. What you want to call it, you want to put whatever variable.
Yeah.
Just like you just use that underscore and then just the outside name for the variable. Like it's like whatever, and then you use like internal, so at least you control it.
Yeah.
How you call an internal with your
Yeah,
function.
through your modules or namespaces. But then Python had some peculiarities. So
with tuples too, you can actually name those variables inside too if you want.
yes.
So let resolve equals, and you could give it the name like number mod3.
Yeah, exactly.
If you wanted to reference that.
So what would that look like?
So just replace the 0 to the
Oh, you could just give it a, I see.
give it a name.
And then so within that case statement, it would have that name.
Yeah, you can use it in
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I hope this was educational. This is the end of the meetup. Thanks for being here. We're gonna have one more meetup on the 30th of this month. It's gonna be offline by default. I also mentioned we're kind of changing up the way. I hope this was helpful and nice to do some kind of hands-on coding during the meetup. If you have a chance to get this book, please do, because we're just gonna be going with this. So on the 30th, we should probably do chapter 2. I don't know, maybe optionals. We'll see.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks a lot. No meetups in April as well. So
No, he's gonna be out of town
I'll make
for-
sure that that's
for a
clear.
month.
If you're not showing in April, we'll be starting back in May.
One more question. The purple prize thing. Do you know what's actually going to happen? Because like I briefly looked at the website, but it's kind of hard to figure out like what exactly was going on. Like,
You have a video on it that maybe does a better explanation.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's from last
So
year.
just watch that.
Yeah. I'll be there. So
Okay.
yeah, if you sign up.
Do you have the address for the GitHub repo?
It's on the Meetup page, so meetup.com. For tonight's session, just scroll down a bit and you'll be able to find
Okay,
it.
so it should be there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm originally from China too, but very long time
Check.
ago.
Do you have any questions about Screen Hero, or how was it?
I can speak.
Oh, it was pretty good.
Yeah, but not
Yep.
You let me know if you want to pair
Yep.
sometime. We'll set it up.
Most of it you can already do it on.
Okay,
Most of the stuff here,
thank you.
except for the ones
Thanks for
that are
taking
Mac
time to do that.
specific.
Yeah, sure.
You can probably do it.
Yeah,
You can do this on the virtual machine.
Yeah, I was thinking of maybe some takeout.
That doesn't involve Mac OS or anything like that.
Password.
And speaking of which, I got a still.